So I was listening to Rabbi Sacks this morning. I wanted to hear one of his messages about Shavuot because I like him and he's very rational and he's a very humble man. He even though he even though he became his title was Lord Rabbi Jonathan Sacks. He was the chief rabbi in England, but he was also knighted by the queen. So he was trusted. He was like, in the verse where it says, in the Brit Hadashah, it says that Yeshua grew in stature and favor with both God and man. And so that reminds me of him as well, Rabbi Sacks. And he talked about how the holiday of Shavuot, that it's a holiday about love. That the giving of the Torah is about Hashem's love for the Jewish people and how he gave us his Torah, and that was our marriage covenant with him. And the book of Ruth is also about love. It was about Ruth's love for her mother-in-law, and eventually for the Jewish people. It was for Boaz's love. It was about Boaz, as Boaz was a high nobleman in Israel. He was a wealthy man, and yet he chose to love and marry a poor widow and a convert, which is another very lowly thing about Ruth. And yet this dignified Jew chose to marry her out of love because he saw her character. And that makes me think of my daughter, Charity. I actually named her based on my favorite passage in the Bible at that time, which was 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And I liked the translation love better, but I didn't want to name her Love because that would have been weird. So when we came to Judaism, I named her Ahava instead, and that wasn't weird. But I just want to read this love chapter to you. I know, Paul's writings have been very difficult for the Jewish people for many reasons, but I don't think, we need to throw out the baby with the bathwater. He has some very beautiful writings as well. And we can see the same thing for the Talmud as well. There's some very difficult, strange things in the Talmud, which as a modern day Jew, I'm kind of ashamed of. But it's part of our history, so there's no reason to hide it. But we can, we don't have to be, we're not perfect, and we don't have to be perfect. The Talmud doesn't have to be perfect for it to be sacred. And even the Bible is not a story that is perfect. It exposes all of our weaknesses and all of our errors. And there are also discrepancies that sometimes we cannot fully understand, and we debate about continuing. So that means that it's okay for me to read 1 Corinthians chapter 13, which says, and I'm going to read the NASB version because it uses the word love instead of KJV, which is, where I got Charity's name from. 1 Corinthians 13, if I speak with the tongues of mankind and of angels, but do not have love, I have become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and know all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. And if I give away all my possessions to charity, and if I surrender my body so that I may glory, but do not have love, it does me no good. Love is patient, love is kind, it is not jealous. I'd like to not use that translation though. Love does get jealous sometimes. And the Hebrew word for jealous, kana, it also means zealous. And we have certainly both a zealous God and also a jealous God sometimes. I do like, I believe in the King James Version, that word is translated as love does not envy. And I think that's a better translation. Love, for our context, for our day, love does not envy. Envy, meaning when someone in our, someone that we love, if we truly love them, we are not jealous we don't get angry because something good happens to them. We don't feel bad about ourselves because if someone that we love, something good happens to them. We should be happy for them. Don't worry that we don't have what they have. That's the kind of jealousness or envy that it's warning against, okay? Love is kind. It does not envy. Love does not brag. It is not arrogant. It does not act disgracefully. It does not seek its own benefit. It is not provoked, does not keep an account of a wrong suffered. It does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the truth. It keeps every confidence. It believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. And I wondered what that meant. What do you mean it believes all things? Is love naive? And I believe this means that if you love someone, you will believe that things will work out for the better, even through the hard times, difficult times, arguments, bad things, hard things that life, that Hashem may throw at you, yet still love perseveres in believing that it will last. Hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails, but if there are gifts of prophecy, they will be done away with. Meaning they will pass. Prophecies aren't forever. When they are fulfilled, it will come to an end. If there are tongues or languages, they will cease. One day there will be only one tongue, one language. If there is knowledge, it will be done away with. A lot of knowledge that we learn today will be useless in the Olam Haba, in the world to come. For we know in part and prophesy in part. But when the perfect comes, the partial will be done away with, meaning all these things that are temporary, they will go away. When I was a child, I used to speak like a child, think like a child, reason like a child. When I became a man, I did away with childish things. And everything that is not of love, I believe, is childish. When we grow and we mature, we think outside of ourselves and we learn true love. Verse 12, for we now see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I'll know fully, just as I also have been fully known. And I believe Paul says this because sometimes it's hard to understand how to love in this fallen world with many negative circumstances. And so we have to trust and we have to love regardless, even though things are dim. And one day it will be revealed why different things had to happen and why it was good for us to continue to love God and others regardless. 13, but now faith, hope, and love remain. These three, but the greatest of these is love. And we have to remember that all the Torah and all the commandments, they're not in and of itself, they're not just about keeping each one, but there is an overall theme, an overarching theme above all the mitzvot, which Yeshua said, love God with all your heart and all your soul and all your strength, and love your neighbor, which means the person who is next to you, whether it be your friend, your next door neighbor, or your family. Love that person as yourself. And if you're going to love someone as yourself, that means you also have to love yourself. In the Bible, elsewhere, it also says that how can you love God? How can you say you love God when you can't even love the person who is made in the image of God who is next to you? So let us remember on Shavuot that the commandments are about love for God and love for our neighbor.